Hello, Matt Warner here from Burns Saddlery. First of all, I'd like to just thank you for your purchase, and I wanted to share a few tips and tricks that we need to watch for as we use our saddles. Longevity-wise, quality-wise, all that stuff to take care of your stuff. I've got some safety things I want to go through. I also got some care tips we want to go through. But first of all, I'm going to start with some safety tips to keep an eye out. One thing I wanted to explain first and foremost is, in order to keep break-in time quick and easy on these saddles, the industry told us that they wanted lighter weight leather and the break-in time is a lot quicker. However, it comes with a little bit of a price. This beans on this leather is not as thick as some of the other leathers you see in saddles. The stretching and stuff can happen a little bit faster than the other. So you need to really watch these holes. You can see this lady's got it tied here. I'm sure I can explain why she's had this. This is an older saddle, but this was to ensure that this slide doesn't come up like this and we lose our stirrup leathers. We do now have locking blevins which lock down onto the blevin, which definitely keeps that from moving at all. So that's why she's done that. I can see she's obviously had a little bit of worry and issue simply because of that. But this is a good one to look at because it's probably 3 or 4 years old. You can see the holes are starting to stretch here where she uses it the most, and that's a sign of probably time to look into maybe some new stirrup tips. I do want to share with you the difference between these tips and your other regular tips. I'll pull this out for you real quick. Get rid of this. You can see the stretch in there. That's the give and take. If you want really thin leathers that break in quickly, you're going to have a little bit more stretch in them. The other thing that saves the break-in time, I'll pull this out and show you the difference. You'll notice here that this has an attachment here from the top of the fender there, which makes this entire leather one. Okay, that also keeps your legs being able to move freely, faster, all that kind of stuff, and also break-in time is easier. Again, it comes at a price. This stuff can stretch. This is thinner leather. It can wear out faster. It's just one of those things that that happens when we start making this a more comfortable ride as far as the legs go. Here's an example of the difference. You'll notice this stirrup leather is full, is what we call it. So it comes all the way through the fender, and now we have double the leather here. This is going to last a lot longer. This is also probably a 15 to 16 ounce stirrup leather, and this is in one of our rope saddles here, and it's not going to stretch as much. So I just want you to know, in our barrel saddles, you're going to really want to keep an eye on this. Well, in any saddle, even these can wear out. So you need to keep an eye on your stirrup leathers. That's the thing that holds you in the saddle. That's the weight of your feet's always going to be on them. That's really a good thing to keep an eye on. So that's about it for stirrup leathers and maintenance on those. These ones are ready. You can tell they're ready for some new ones. You can see it's getting kind of cheesy here. When it starts doing that, that means it's stretching like this. So it's time to get new ones. The next thing I want to go over is your latigo. Same kind of a deal. You know, leather breaks down and starts stretching, and it gets drier over time if you're not oiling your stuff often. And I'm going to look for the same kind of stuff in my latigo as I do my fenders. Are the holes stretching? Is everything starting to wrinkle up? Things like that, we need to watch that. Is there any tears? Is there any weird things going on? It's probably time to get a new one, and or have someone that knows what they're talking about check into it to see if you need a new one. This one, I would say, could probably last another 6 months if oiled and taken care of, but something to watch for. This is our in-skirt rigging here. There's lots of many riggings. There's D riggings, there's plate riggings, there's in-skirt riggings, there's a few different styles of riggings. But most riggings all have rivets that the fender's gonna sit against, okay? And that fender's constantly doing this as we're riding, right? So the friction's hitting these rivets. And I've seen over the years in older saddles, these rivet heads start wearing down and they get really thin and they get really small. If you let it go too far, that's holding your rigging in the saddle. So if you let it go too far, them could potentially fall out. So if you're seeing rivet wear down to really, really small, looking like it's nothing, it's real quick fix. If you send it back to us, we can set your rivets back in, new rivets, and it'll help that last a lot longer. What we don't want to do is get down through the rivet, into the leather, start wearing the leather out and the stitching out. So that's another thing I would look for. Same thing on this side. Your off billets, I'll pull it out. Your off billets on a barrel saddle look like this. I'm looking for the same kind of thing in this as I am the Latigo, okay? This one looks pretty good. She's adjusted it in 3 different positions, sometimes 4. But all in all, that's pretty good. It could be cleaned up and oiled and last this person quite a bit longer. But that's another thing I want to check out. The other thing is your back billets, same kind of deal. They don't get a lot of pressure usually, but if they catch on something and start pulling out of your, like you're unloading your horse out of your trailer or something, it could tear these and you know, tear from hole to hole or whatever. You want to watch those, and all of these things, if they're worn out, all you got to do is call us. We can ship you. You can buy them right here through Burns. We can ship you whatever you need. If we need to match them up for tooling wise or whatever, we can do that. Sometimes a saddle this old, it's kind of hard to match color to color, but talk it through with your rep and we can try to get a dark oil on it or something like that so the parts match as close as possible. But eventually, no matter what, they're going to end up matching again because it's the same exact leather. We haven't changed leathers for years. So that's a couple safety tips that I like to talk about. Another thing for your horse's sake is I like to look underneath the saddle. Is the wool still there? Is there any bare spots or spots maybe the moths in your shed got to and ate it up, or the mice ate it up, and you're losing some of that padding, especially up here in the front of the saddle? It might be time for a reline. We do that as well. You can ship your saddle to us, we can reline it, we can make this brand new again. So that's another thing I like to look for, just for the safety of your horse. One of the things we've done to improve the safety of our saddles is we've started purchasing the locking blevins. I talked about that a little earlier. These tend to get loose sometimes and open up, and they're able to move on the older style blevins, okay? This locking blevin, you can see it slides down on the deal, and it has this locking mechanism that locks in place, so that can't go anywhere anymore. And so that's a nice feature we have that helps these be a little bit more safer so they don't work their way up and we lose our footing in a run or in a roping or wherever. So that's a good safety feature we're offering now, and more details to come on that too. I've got some other ideas to help fix that issue. Another thing I'd like to talk about today is off billets, Latigos, and half-breed Latigos, and the differences in how we use them, how they're set up, what they're for. On all of our saddles, on the on side, which is the left side of the saddle that you get on, we always put a long Latigo, and it's long like this. And let me pull it around so we can see. So as that cinch comes from the other side, everybody knows how it works. If you don't have enough to go through the back or through the cinch, back down through the D like that, and back up through the cinch, you probably got too short a Latigo. Okay, that's how that's supposed to happen. Okay, so that's our long Latigo. All our saddles have the same setup on the on side. Now, this is a rope saddle here that I want to share a little bit of difference between this and the barrel saddle that you may notice. On the barrel saddle, we put what we call just the off billet. This off billet goes down through the D-ring here, and then it's 2 layers of skirting leather, and it simply doubles up and goes through the cinch like this and hangs. Okay? if you know what latigo is, you cannot use latigo the same way as you can skirting. It's not gonna last. So some simple mistakes that I see people make is they see this as an off billet. I can tell that that's exactly what they've done with this. This does not work like an off billet. This is called a half breed. So you cannot do this the same as your off billet. Okay, I'm going to show you how this works. If it's latigo, it's a half breed from us, okay? Half breed is upside down, goes through the cinch, now it's doubled, goes over the rigging like this, back down through the cinch and through double holes. Like that. That's how a half breed works. So make sure that you know the difference. More than likely in your barrel saddle that you have from us, directly from us, is going to have this. But any other saddle, ranch or rope or versatility saddle, is probably going to have a half breed with it. And that's how we do our half breeds, okay?